Yeah, I wasn't lucky enough to get a show in the Fringe Festival this year, but in 2013, yours truly, the Rev Pat D was able to get his own show in the Fringe Festival called I Have Asperger's, What's Your Excuse? And here's what critics said about my show. Critics, Cody writes, just horrible. I can't believe I paid money to hear someone complain, swear, and act very childlike. This is the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. I need to point out that I'm not a good speller, but the word believe is misspelled. He goes on to say, it's not any kind of story as he is bitching like a old lady. And I'm not an expert on the proper use of the English language, but if a word is preceded by a vowel, you say and if the word is preceded by a consonant, you say a. So this gives me plenty of evidence that the person who wrote this is stuck up and stupid. It's amazing how I went on to being childlike, bitching like a old lady. He goes on to say, don't waste your money, people. That is fucking amazing. I keep telling people not to waste their money by going to poetry slams, but they do it anyway. Someone who is one of the best and greatest spoken words artists in the entire world, such as myself, constantly end up getting the lowest scores from the judges, while those who get the highest scores spout out a bunch of pretentious stream of unconscious dribble, and people give them high score not because they like it or understand it, actually they don't, but they think that because they pretend to like it and understand it, everyone will think that they are so deep, sensitive, and intellectual when it's all a bunch of bullshit that makes no sense. Meanwhile, my spoken word is funny, refreshing, honest, but so many people don't want to hear that. Most of the judges at these poetry slams have a stick up their ass and give me low scores, but I won't forget the time when I got lucky. And this is when I dressed up in drag, claiming that I just had an abortion, and I was proud of it. And the judges actually gave me a very high score, and I was tied in first place. But one of the hosts who came in an obnoxious asshole, and I'm not going to mention any names, went on to say, what's wrong with you judges? He's talking about murdering babies. And there was another time when I did a spoken words about how Satan causes your shit to stink. And one of the judges gave me a 0 on that one, while another judge gave me a 10. So that spoken words created a strong contrast from someone who's an extreme asshole to someone who's extremely cool. Meanwhile, that asshole who hosted that said, after hearing this, I don't want to ever take a shit again. And then a woman yelled out, I do, and I found that to be fucking beautiful. Anyway, I got some other horrible reviews for my Fringe show as well. Veronica writes, I wanted there to be a point, but there wasn't. What a stupid, uptight, retarded fucking cunt. I invested $500 on my Fringe show, and I only got $169 back, which fucking sucks. I didn't spend all that money to do a show that didn't have a point to it. That is a matter of someone's opinion, and opinions are like assholes, and most of them stink, except for the ones that make sense. Someone else said that the emotions it evoked was pity, disgust, and embarrassment. I don't want any fucking pity. Roger writes, Pat's presentation was honest, sincere example of a stream of consciousness, finding its own way connecting within itself to a continuation of a never-ending stream of consciousness, showing that her beliefs was wrong in that you can step into the same stream twice. Pat was able to present a reality that he has to deal with, while we can only glimpse a portion of that reality as it passes. His language and imagery was rough and challenging, but so is his reality that he shared with us. And I like some of what Roger said, but he only gave me 2 stars for it. Now the nice thing when I got my show in the Fringe Festival is I was able to see a lot of Fringe shows for free, and I can only get into a couple of them. One show was called Shine, which was about bullying in schools, and then one of the bullies started to become friends and understands and accepts the person who was being bullied. That was definitely sugar-coated, but my Fringe show wasn't. In the real world, bullies are a bunch of pieces of fucking filth, and they do not become friends with the people they bully. Now I saw the show called saw the Vagina Fairy Show. At the end of that show, this woman takes off all her clothes, and she has a penis, and that gave me a stiffy. She's about to undergo a sex change operation, and I understand how it must feel to be a man trapped in a woman's body, but I wish that she would replace that beautiful penis with an ugly taco. And I know that the transgender people have been fucked over and treated like shit their whole lives, and so have I. So I have a lot of empathy for them, but do they have empathy for me? My favorite show that I saw in the Fringe Festival was the one about the dick and fart jokes, and I loved it. That was the best theatrical productions that I've ever seen. I will conclude by mentioning what someone said about my show who has their brain cells functioning. The Rev Pat D is a known figure in the spoken words community for his profane rants on topics such as reincarnation, abortion, mental health, and diarrhea. Most open mics have time limits, so we've only heard small bits of Pat's unique world view, and the pieces never seem to fit together. In contrast, this is true outsider art, deeply vulnerable and fiercely proud of his alienation from society and commitment to crude material. Pat paints a vivid picture of life from behind the eyes with an occasional departure from his script. His voice softens as we see Pat for the first time, not as a character in his own story, but as a human being. Hilarious, offensive, raw, strangely charming, and absolutely captivating. The name for my Fringe show says it all. To those who don't like me or understand me, my show was called I Have Asperger's. What's yours?